So I just got back from California, and I wasn't sure I was in California until I landed. And the first thing I saw was an Apple, like an iPod repair or an iPad repair store. And out front they had what I thought was a mannequin wearing like a bikini and hooker boots, holding a sign that said iPod repair. And then I got really close, and she started moving. That's how fake everything is there. So I went out there because I wanted to meet a couple of the guys who are writers on Robot Chicken, among other things, and they've just put together a musical called Nerds. And Nerds is the story of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. I almost said Steve Gates and Bill Jobs, but I'm sure no one's ever made that mistake before. Anyway, it's their story, and it takes place from way back in the homebrew computer club, and it goes all the way up until I believe I saw this play. I think the ending was somewhere around Jobs creating the iPod, and then maybe that leaves room for a sequel. Anyway, the musical was pretty interesting, pretty funny, but I really wanted to find out more about these guys. All right, everybody out there watching on the internet, Jordan and Eric, and you guys write for Robot Chicken, but you do a lot more than that. So the first thing I want to do is just introduce you guys, and we'll start with you, Jordan. So just tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do in general outside of Robot Chicken.
Well, let's see. I'm a comedy writer mostly, and but I'm a nerd. I'm a serious nerd. I grew up in Palo Alto, California, on Stanford campus. I wore my dad's engineering class T-shirt.
How old is this shirt?
This is from my dad's lab, he teaches analog circuit design. So it's probably a few months old.
I'm Eric. I'm a writer too, comedy primarily, and my dad did not work at Stanford. I don't know anything about narwhals, but I grew up in San Francisco. Was a big computer nerd growing up. Still am to this day, and excited, honored to be here.
All right, so now you guys worked on recently on a musical called Nerds.
It starts around the Homebrew Computer Club in 1975, and it tracks Bill Gates and Steve Jobs in a kind of fictional version of history, where we try to check in with the major checkpoints of computer history, but in a kind of Monty Python way.
All right.
And goes all the way up, pretty much through the present. That's.
Now I saw this in Philly, and I noticed with the characters, even though it's funny and a lot of things are happening that are silly, the characters are taking themselves very seriously, and that's kind of different when you look at a lot of Broadway right now. It's like the audience is always in on the joke, but with this one, the joke is that these people are serious about doing things that are either asinine or ridiculous, but they are so committed to that. Now, is that something you guys did on purpose, or?
Well, I think that's a brand of our comedy, that we try to make the characters really real and grounded, and then the more real and grounded they are, the more you diverge comedically from it or undercut it, the humor really pops a lot more, we think.
In my mind, sort of what makes a great nerd, an admirable nerd, is somebody who's sort of unabashedly into what they're into.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm into this. I'm seriously into this. Whether or not that's Doom 1 on the top of a mountain in a local area network, or whether or not it's like, whatever. Making plaid ties, whatever people are into, if they're super into it, like unapologetically, there's something really humorous about that.
Yeah, and they have no idea how they look to other people. It's like they don't even. We probably look pretty stupid up there.
Yeah, I don't think people ultimately care that. I don't think that Bill Gates and Steve Jobs ultimately cared that much about what people thought of them when they were doing what they were doing. If they had cared that much, they would have been off trying to chase what the big companies were doing, and they weren't. They were trying to do what they wanted to do, which is kind of how we ended up at all that innovation, I think, on some level.
I gotta be honest, when I went to go see the show, I was like, oh, it's a theater thing. Most art people are really fond of Jobs, and it's going to be very pro Apple. I was afraid of that, but you guys weren't. Was that part of it, sitting down and you're like, we're going to tell a real story? And
First of all, Jordan and I have a ton of reverence for both Jobs and Gates and computer history in general. We grew up as part of that generation, and so it was really important to us that we weren't just eviscerating either side of the debate, and that we were being honest and paying tribute to two guys that we think changed the course of the world, and equally taking the piss out of them on an equal basis. And so I think that was the way that we got into it, and we did a lot of research from reading books about all that that time period and watching a couple movies and documentaries and just getting to know the story back and down pat. And then you say we take liberties, we do because it's it's a comedic musical, and I think if you tried to tell that story as just a play on stage, it probably wouldn't pop like it does hopefully in our musical. But we have Steve Jobs going to Xerox PARC, which is true. We went to Xerox PARC. He got the idea for the mouse from Xerox PARC for the Macintosh, but we have him falling in love with the woman who designed the mouse and kind of stealing the idea from her and coercing her to hand over her ideas to him. So we're taking liberties in that sense, but behind every liberty we take is actual factual truth of the history of computers.
With nerds today, it's really hard to get them to accept things that are not completely factually perfect. Have you guys received any flack from that?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because we have a section in the show where we talk about a DOS prompt, and we do a little Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Bill Gates and Paul Allen present the first DOS prompt at this computer convention, and they say, running the musical presentation is as easy as typing C:/run musical presentation, and our music director looked at it and he said, I was big into DOS, and you're limited to 11 characters or whatever. And he's like, it isn't actually run music presentation, 8 characters.
You need a tilde in there, right?
It's like you have to take out all the vowels. It's actually R, N, M, S, and we were like, all right, fine. But it's like, and I think that there's going to be those people on both sides of it. But I also think we did try to stay impartial on some level. Every time that I become a Mac nerd, I get frustrated by the OS, and I'm like, God, why do I eat this proprietary cake or whatever, and then 2 minutes later I'm like, I love Google. Google's my jam. And then I'm like, why is Gmail always changing? And it's like every time you can kind of become so excited about one particular operating system, you find yourself, seeing the benefits of the other, right? And it's like, I love, for example, the latest situation with Apple where it's like they release a big old phone and they're like, bigger is better. Meanwhile, a year ago, they were like, those other phones are too big.
They always say that about the features they don't have. Nobody needs that.
So I think that there are things you love about Apple and things you love about the PC, but I think that with portraying these two guys, you got to see both sides of the story. If you read the Jobs biography, you see that on one level he's this amazing innovator who pushes everybody, and on another level he's a total narcissist who pisses everybody off. And then on the same time you have Gates, who's a philanthropist now. How can you knock his work with humanitarian stuff? And yet he's a huge robber baron in terms of IP, and that's just his deal. He muscles people out of the game. So he's Tony Soprano when it comes to, intellectual property. But that's, I think he learned that from IBM. And you have to see both sides to it, or else I don't think it's that interesting.
If you really want to see the show and it's not up yet, definitely leave some comments, and our producers will see that and see the fervor of the fan base wanting to see the show. But no, our whole plan is to bring it to Broadway. You can go to nerdsmusical.com and check out what's happening with it. The website should be up soon, and I think everyone, regardless of your knowledge of computers or your knowledge of musicals, will really love this show. It's really fun. It's irreverent. It's Monty Python meets computer history. It's a great show. We hope you can come see it.
I know you guys are going to be, I'm not sure if you guys are going to be there, but Nerds is going to be at Comic-Con in New York City.
Yeah.
So if you guys are in New York City and you stop by Comic-Con, check out the Nerds booth.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you guys are going to have there or whatever.
We're going to have some special stuff, some limited edition coolness that's available for purchase.
Yep.
Or free, I don't even know. But we're making something really cool.
All right,
for Comic-Con.
so check that out. All right, guys, thanks a lot. It's been awesome.
Thanks for coming out here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So, we haven't done a lot of work with Thermaltake, Wendell. Thermaltake has, I think it's like they have so many SKUs that it's almost overwhelming. They cover so many different things. And there's TT Esports that has, the full line of mice, keyboards, headsets, and other gaming peripherals. Then they have, just the regular Thermaltake stuff. And now they're expanding into all kinds of crazy water cooling stuff, and not just the closed loop stuff. They've also got, you could totally go custom with it, get the tubes and the fittings and just everything. So we bumped into Shannon over there, and he was nice enough to show us the Corvi one we saw. We've seen that before, but He showed us the Core V51, and the V71 we talked about, but I don't believe it was there. Maybe it was somewhere else hiding. These cases are sleek and clean, and they're kind of going in a different direction from a lot of the stuff that looks like a transformer, and I like that. But the other thing that's interesting about it is you can do almost anything with it. On the top, there are not just screw holes to mount things. There's huge areas where you could screw things together. It's just, you could almost mount anything in them, and a lot of the cages and that sort of thing on the inside are modular. So after that, I decided to meet up with ADATA in a parking lot. They told me they had some DDR4. So I was pretty eager, and I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do this in the parking lot, show up with a trench coat and be like, hey man, what you need? You need some DDR4? And I really wanted to see what they had. So we got it out, and we started looking at it, and the heat spreader is really nice. It's not perfectly straight on the bottom. It's got an interesting aesthetic. And then I was like, so I'm going to take these and benchmark them. And the guy was like, oh, those are just dummy samples. And my hopes and dreams were crushed. So, yeah.
No.
Yeah. He also showed me one of their full, it's a solid body USB flash drive, 64 gigabyte USB 3. Those look pretty nice as well. But again, another dummy device. So stuff that's going to be available soon, but there's a shortage on a lot of these things. So DDR4 is pretty hard to come by. Last stop, MSI, and I wanted to see some of their new laptops. They have the new stealth laptops. They have the next stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and let Vincent tell us about all that.
All right, here's the GT70. We saw this at QuakeCon, and you can now get a better graphics card in there. So, Vincent, what do we have here?
Yeah, this is the GT72, just like you mentioned, Logan. You guys did actually get some good coverage on it back in QuakeCon. And at the time, that was running on the 880 graphics card. But just this Tuesday, it was announced that we just refreshed the GT72 Dominator, along with a couple of other our laptop series, with the 900M series graphics card. Definitely a huge increase in graphics performance. We've tested it out. It's been pretty amazing. It's over 30% increase from the 880 and 870, so it's quite a beast.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I see some more stealth laptops over here. What do we have here?
Yeah. So we've had the GS70 Stealth series out for a while now, and it's the design in terms of the main chassis and everything else hasn't changed significantly. However, basically all our fans were asking for a little bit more choice, especially in the Thin and Light series. So what we did was we provided a new color, and we all decided, we felt that Crimson Red was a great color scheme to go with. It really captures first, our gamer spirit, and it's a really great color design to add to the GS70 Stealth series line. So this is the new GS70 Stealth Crimson Red edition, and it is available with the 970M graphics card as well. So you're going to get a lot of performance in a very ultra portable design. It still has all its great features from before: SteelSeries keyboard. It's a very, very portable powerhouse. And it's actually got updated or upgraded specs as well. Both the GS70 Stealth and the GT72 are compatible with the M.2 SATA SSD, so
nice.
It's very, very fast storage.
Can you get this in RAID?
Yes, it's actually the highest configuration you can go up to with the GS70 Stealth Crimson Red Edition is, I believe, 3 M.2 SATA SSDs in RAID.
Oh, nice.
And each memory stick is about 256 gigabytes.
And how about this one? Same specs on this one?
Same spec. Yeah, the Crimson Red has the highest end configuration available for the GS70 series, but we still have our standard, the classic standard black or gray model. This one doesn't go as high in terms of storage, but it does still have the 970M graphics card. Just probably not as much as or as high as the Crimson Red edition.
And why is it a different motherboard, or?
Oh no, I guess it's just how we place it. It's the Crimson edition. It's a special edition, so we want to give it higher specs, pre-configured specs. So
any plans to make this one as crazy maybe in the future?
Possibly. We don't. Not sure yet, but we really want to make the Red edition really special, and people who want to get it, like, it has all bells and whistles, all the flair, and still all the great performance.
And we have the gold edition as well.
Yes.
Where did this come from?
This is the GS60 Ghost, and there is also this available color, very exclusive. This is actually only available through Newegg, but we made it especially, for them. Goes with the whole Newegg Gold Egg sort of deal. But it is a very special edition GS60 Ghost in gold. We got, it's definitely very specific in color and design. Well, there actually has been some pretty interesting feedback on it. We've got people who love it, people who aren't sure about how the flashiness of it, but it's still, still got the great performance of GS60, just in a much more flashier design and color.
So after we finished talking to Vincent, we did take a look at their GTX 970. It's very similar to the Strix model here. It's got the fancy newest version of the twin Frozer on it, and it is able to run completely silently up until around 60 something degrees, and that's when the fans kick on. But under that, it just doesn't even kick on. So insanely powerful, and yeah. All right, that's pretty much what happened in California, other than some shenanigans with Paul, the Newegg team was there. Steve and Jenny bumped into those guys, and even sat down with Jay from Jay's 2 Cents and had some good chatting times. But now I'm back, and it is time to go about our normal Tech Syndicate business. Before I got on the plane, I was reading an article about Snapchat and how it's like the thing that everyone is using now, and a lot of people are leaving Facebook. And I looked at it and I was like, this is the last thing I would ever want to do with my life. Ever. Nothing. I would rather sleep with a crocodile in the bed. But you know what? I decided to download it and try it out. And I made it I made a couple of hours, and then I just had to get it off of my device. I'm kind of glad I did, because it looks like there may be a massive breach. And not from Snapchat. Snapchat, yeah, that's how I say it. Apparently, there's, the way Snapchat works, if you're someone who does not know how Snapchat works, you send pictures, videos, little clips or whatever to your friends, and you can tag them, and you can write messages with them. And they only last like 10 seconds or whatever, unless you make a story, in which case that same piece of media can be viewable for up to 24 hours. And everything in your story has a 24-hour lifespan. But typically, it's like everything's ephemeral. It just disappears, and that's it. Well, apparently, some third-party apps have made it possible for some 4chan hackers, as it always is the 4chan hackers, to catalog, about a year's worth of of stuff, just random stuff. They've got 13 gigabytes of Snapchat stuff. Snapchat stuff is not supposed to exist anywhere. It was originally designed as an app to help you cheat on your significant other or whatever, or just whoever you didn't want to know things. So yeah. So it looks like they've got their hands on that stuff.
Well,
but they're denying it.
It's basically third-party apps that will integrate with Snapchat. And Snapchat warns you, it's like, don't use this with third-party apps because it may save the data. And so it turns out one of the really popular third-party apps, this leak may have been from them. So it may not be leaks of Snapchat proper, it may be leaks from the application.
Right, yeah, it looks like it's not directly from Snapchat, but regardless, someone may have a large collection of these files. And right here on this website here on Computer World, if you guys go down, I think one of the first comments here is, hey, I found the gallery of leaked photos. Let's go ahead and open this this link here. We shouldn't open these links. I'm going to go ahead and open it, though. And yeah, there it is. It's a file. This one it's only 230 megabytes, but I guess someone put together some of the best ones. If you're crazy, you can download this. I do not know what is in this folder. I do not trust it. I do not want to download it myself. But if some of you guys download it and do not get a virus, I'm not going to be held responsible. But if you guys download it and find some fun stuff, let us know. God, I do not want to know what's in there. Because I imagine if someone thinks that an image is only going to last 10 seconds, that they are willing to do some pretty stupid things. Yeah, I'm so happy that it's off my device.
If there were a way to make a file only last 10 seconds on a computer, the MPAA and the RIAA would have already shoved that down our throats. But because if you can see it and you can hear it, it can be copied, it's kind of problematic.
Something else, Snapchat, I was being a curmudgeon about it online, and some people were yelling at me, and I really wanted to understand it. And now I understand it. It is simply a very basic tool for stupid people to waste time. That's it. That's all it is. I don't think anybody who has anything important to do is ever going to use Snapchat, and that's just what I think. I don't think they should be using Facebook either, but yeah.
Some creative type out there should take the 7 deadly sins and turn them into the various social applications. And I don't know what Snapchat would be. I don't know. I think Facebook might be envy. Snapchat might be sloth. I don't know.
Lust, sloth, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no
I don't
idea.
know. Maybe Pinterest is sloth, and I don't know.
Somebody figure that out. We'll make a T-shirt of it. The price of Bitcoin has been dropping, but it's kind of come back up. It hit 300 on Sunday afternoon, but it's actually on CoinDesk it went all the way down to 286. And I was like biting my nut. I bought a whole bunch when they was like 450, and I'm gonna hold, and I'm not gonna tell you guys what to do, but I'm holding myself. And I think it's going to come back up. It's at 360 right now, but it's volatile, and that's the nature of Bitcoin. People love to speculate, and a lot of this could be because there's some speculation, of course, about the possibility of some states regulating Bitcoin. In New York, they're talking about it. So, yeah, who knows?
I would describe anything less than $500 a coin as precipitously low for Bitcoin. It bottomed out, I think, around 286, somewhere through there.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Yeah, 286. Yeah,
which is disturbingly low for what it is. But I mean, Bitcoin's had a meteoric rise over the last 3 years, so in the long scale, it's still really high. But we still have a lot of investor interest in it, and that sort of thing is creating scarcity. So there is a fair bit of volatility. It would be nice if there was less volatility. It would be nice if the value were a little higher, but at least I don't feel like it's artificially high at this point.
I want to know, are you guys buying? Are you guys selling? Or what are you guys doing right now? And why are you doing it? Let us know in the comments. I'm curious. It's illegal to impersonate people on the internet, but what if the DEA, what if they're the entity that's impersonating someone on the internet? So here in New York, we're going to see some personal photos, because that's always what happens. It's like an article like this comes out on ABC News, and they're like, "This is terrible. Look at this huge infringement of privacy," while they're posting pictures from the alleged infringement of privacy. Here's one of the pictures from the stuff that should have been private from Sandra Prince, whose name we have printed now. So anyway, I think that's kind of funny. Anyway, she was stopped by the cops, and she had like a bunch of drugs and stuff, and they arrested her with intent to sell. And her boyfriend apparently is a known dealer, and they're going after a lot of her friends. So what they decided to do was they decided let's sit back and put together a Facebook page with her using a lot of photos of hers, photos from her phone and stuff, and then let's try to entice her friends so that we can bust them. Really clever there. So why is this wrong?
They use pictures of her children, and so they involved
great.
her children. It's like, look at my children. These are I'm a real person. I promise. And it's like, ooh. There was no trial either. I mean, there's a trial pending, but there is no conviction, and it seems like there should be a presumption of innocence before undertaking such a thing. And I don't know. I mean, can it be argued that involving children puts it in danger? I mean, what if something went wrong and a drug dealer was like, "Oh, you have children. These are the pictures. Let me abduct the children and hold them for ransom because you caused the deal to go sideways," or something. I don't know. It just seems like a dangerous game to play.
I don't think that they're smart enough to think of that. I think their perspective is very narrow, because this is it. They have this much, and then they can't actually see anything outside of their own perspective. So when something bad happens as a result of their actions, it's like, well, I didn't consider those consequences.
I really had trouble understanding the drug problem and sort of how that has gone. And Isaac Asimov has a really good write-up on it, and he described it as a disease of boredom, that he thought that people in the future would have to contend with many diseases of boredom, and he thought that drug abuse would be one of those things. But it's I think that something like 86% of Americans think that the war on drugs is basically a boondoggle. And, it seems like law enforcement would have better things to do with their time than set up Facebook accounts to try to trick stupid children into, doing something with drugs. I don't know if this is actually making anything safer or a good use of taxpayer dollars, but it's disturbing because our children are involved.
Moving right along. All right, we're going to talk about the Silk Road for just a minute. Now, the Silk Road case has been going on for a while, and I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about. Well, before I let you go, I just want to say that we are not going to endorse the Silk Road at all. We are not going to endorse anything that Robert William Ulbricht did. So, but we are going to talk about this case. So go ahead.
Silk Road, if you guys aren't familiar, was the sort of the eBay of drugs. Not like, and when you say drugs, you think, I don't know, marijuana, crack, I don't know, whatever all the kids are doing these days, I don't know. But it was not just that. It was also prescription drugs and things like Adderall and pretty much anything under the sun that was a controlled substance, good or bad, indifferent, pharmaceutical, Canadian stuff. If you needed to get your heart medicine from Canada because it was 80% cheaper, Silk Road, you could do that on Silk Road. So the FBI sort of traced it back and they said, we think it's this Ulbricht guy, let's arrest him. And it's unfolding. It's a currently going on court case. It's unfolding. You're probably going to hear about it a few times as events happen. But the current thing that's going on is apparently the FBI hacked a server in Greenland in order to figure out who he was. And so under oath, they said, this is how we figured out who it was. And the lawyers that Ulbricht hired are technically competent. And so they took that apart and said, no, what you're saying is not possible. Tell us what really happened. We think that you hacked or compromised the server in some way, and you don't have that power under the law. The federal law doesn't give you the right to do that. And the feds basically said, no, we can totally hack anything we want. And it's like, well, I hope the Chinese aren't paying attention right now because that's probably bad. I mean,
they said it doesn't matter. They said it doesn't matter whose soil it's on either. It's like, oh well, and they've come out and said some pretty. They're kind of being cowboys right now, that we can and we will hack any server regardless of where it resides. That kind of thing has been there.
If it's in our interests, we're going to do it. And it's like, well, you guys have put people away for less. I mean, that the Weave guy, the guy that was just, there's a web form that AT&T set up was so wildly insecure you could just put in nonsense for it and it would spit back email addresses of people that had AT&T iPads, and that guy got 2 years in jail or something like that. It's something crazy.
He wasn't even hacking. He was exploiting a bug. He was like, "Ooh, yeah. I found a bug. Let's have a little bit of fun." Oh, I'm in prison. Oh,
that's pretty much how that went down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting defense.
Yeah. All right. We want to move on from that. I don't even know where else to go on that, other than the fact that same treatment for the DEA should be the same treatment for the DEA as it was for the dude.
It's not illegal when we do it. There should not be two sets of laws here. That is always an insanely dangerous situation. Law enforcement has the tools it needs under the law to enforce the law. It doesn't need to go all, Chuck Norris, I am the law, whatever. It just doesn't need to do that. That's a very insanely bad, dangerous precedent.
Twitter's getting tired of stuff like this, and they've decided to sue the FBI and the Department of Justice because they want to be able to release all the information. There's all these, NSA requests that are going on, and even if there are no quests, they're not even allowed to tell their members. They're not even allowed to tell them that. So Twitter has decided to go ahead and sue in a California federal court, and all they really want to do is be able to publish their transparency reports with included information that should be part of their First Amendment right. They just want to tell people, hey, we've had 500 million, requests for your private data. That they want to be able to publish that. So this is something I'm going to be watching very closely because this lawsuit, the outcome of it, will set a precedent for future lawsuits. And if things go well for Twitter, we may actually see other technology companies do the same and follow suit. I'm just going to leave it there. Double entendre. I like it. We'll see others follow suit. All right.
I can't possibly come up with a better pun. This is just about transparency. This is the crazy thing. It's like they just want to report on the number of times they've been probed by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And that's all. That's all they want to do. We don't even necessarily want to name names. We just want some transparency in that some things happened, and that seems like that's a good thing because it's always disturbing, when you don't know that people are messing with your stuff, it's very, I don't know, for some reason that just creeps me out. It makes my skin crawl.
So, Wendell, have you seen the time?
Oh no, rant 30 already?
We haven't done a rant 30 in a while because, well, everything that we talk about is just something that could be a rant 30. And this one may be a soft one, but it's still kind of funny. If you go to Sacramento State University, and if you are Amish, the FBI would like to hire you. Apparently, because that's the only way you're going to qualify. In order to work for the FBI, they hook you up to a polygraph test, and they ask you all kinds of ridiculous questions. One of the questions on that polygraph test is, have you ever shared music or movies or ebooks on the internet? Or have you ever downloaded one? That's not the exact wording of the question, but yeah. So apparently you have to be Amish, and I think if Amish had access to that technology, they probably would be inclined to share some things as well. Does anyone out there know anyone that has never downloaded something like that? And above and beyond all that, okay, the FBI, it's a federal Bureau of Investigations, and doing one of those three things that we just named there is not a federal crime. What is it? Is it a misdemeanor right now?
It's a civil matter. It's only distribution that's a problem. I mean, if if you're camming movies and uploading that to the internet for millions of people to download, that's a federal matter. But if you have if you got the Weird Al album and you're like, oh my God, you have to listen to Weird Al's new song, and it's like, here, have a copy, listen, or whatever, then that apparently is enough to disqualify you from this questionnaire. It literally says, one of the highly discussed topics in the presentation was a list of potential traits that disqualify applicants. This list included a failure to register with selective service, illegal drug use, okay, including steroids, criminal activity, default on student loans, I don't know. There's, AIG got a bailout. I mean, if AIG can get a bailout, I mean, come on, I don't know. Falsifying information on an application, and illegal downloading of music, movies, television, and books. It's like, what? And the questions about that range from use of cell phone apps to download free music to Spotify and other means of retrieving music. It's like, wait a minute, Spotify's not, I mean, what? So we think only Amish people could go work for the FBI, which explains a lot, really. I mean, we were talking about the Albright case earlier. I mean, apparently only the
do not
Amish
understand technology. Yeah, they clearly do not understand technology in the least. All right, let's talk about ISPs. We're obligated to do it, but this time let's talk about them closer to home. So in Lexington, they're talking about blocking the Time Warner Cable and Comcast merger, and it's kind of sad that I don't think a small municipality like Lexington is going to end up stopping the entire merger from going through. It looks like the government is kind of being like, yeah, we're probably going to let this happen. A few small places in the country are whining and screaming about it. Let's hypothetically, if Lexington did block it, would they be the only little spot in the country that still had Time Warner? That wouldn't happen. I mean, I don't know what would happen with this, but do you think Lexington could stop the merger as a whole?
I don't think they would stop the merger. I think that they would be able to, the whole cable franchise thing that we've talked about before, where a city gives franchise rights to a cable company. I think they would just invite other cable companies to bid or compete with or buddy up with other companies to bid for the local franchise. I think they're going to be sorely disappointed because probably no one wants it. But you have to understand the context here. Lexington just switched, or Time Warner just bought Insight like, a year ago, very recently. And so a lot of the people in and around Lexington are still reeling from that because things sort of took a turn, maybe for the worse, since switching from Insight to Time Warner. At least on business class services, there was a 10 to 15% price hike, just from my own personal experience with that. And the service plans got a fair bit crappier. So it's been pretty much impossible to get service on a couple of different things, and so I'm not surprised that Lexington is upset with this. But I'd say that what will happen is, Time Warner will grease the appropriate palms, and then things will continue on as normal.
Lexington, right now is the time to actually do something. Take a look at Wilson, North Carolina. Take a look at Chattanooga, Tennessee. Just take a really good look at those places. Take a look at not Portland, Maine, but somewhere in Maine. They're laying their own fiber. and then they're working with local businesses to make things happen, and the economies are exploding. I know Lexington is already one of the top-rated places for local and small businesses in the country, but can you imagine if they decided to take matters into their own hands and be like, you know what, we've been jerking around with this. It's one of the single most important things for the future of any city. And if they stopped, allowing these other companies to jerk them around and relying upon these stupid companies like Time Warner and Comcast and Insight, if they actually sat back and said, you know what, let's do this ourselves, and maybe called somebody, hell, call us. We'll come up and take care of it. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out who to contract. If it's over your head, there are people out there willing to help. And yeah.
There are people out there willing to help. Lexington is sort of a hotspot for technology because it's just cheap enough to live that companies can actually get a benefit from moving here because wages have gone up overseas. And so it's like, we could send it to Kentucky, which is kind of weird. But it's also the I-75 corridor. So with the I-75 corridor, you've got an opportunity to run some really serious bandwidth, from north to south. And then we can just sort of tap that, and it's not really a big deal. But that's really what telecommunications companies fear is like, we've got a backbone where people are using lots of bandwidth. That's probably not good. Let's kneecap that somehow.
Lexington, get on this. Could be important. All right, let's go ahead and check out Netflix's competitor, and that's Redbox. Redbox Instant is dying, and Verizon owned Redbox Instant. So they're saying that they're getting rid of it because of lack of, customer interest and that sort of thing. Yeah.
No one cares.
Are there still going to be those stupid soda-looking machines that are in front of grocery stores that you shouldn't go to?
I believe so.
Whenever I see the Redbox in front, I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to be a shitty quality grocery store. I'm going to go across the street and see if I can find some good food somewhere else. Those things are probably still going to be there.
Every time I see somebody fiddling with a physical disc or a set-top box on the back of a television, it's like, if you had a choice of, think about this in a historical context. If you had a choice of, somebody fiddling with television, the television experience as it was in the 1960s, fiddling with rabbit ears and fine-tuning dials on the side of your television and perhaps hitting it when it won't exactly come in, and maybe some aluminum foil. That is the current today experience with a set-top box and cable television. Why would you do that when you can just stream it over the internet? No headache, no BS, no dealing with ads on your set-top box. Why would you not do? No dealing with forced ads from DVDs. It's like, I just want to watch the movie. I don't want to watch 30 minutes of previews that are probably irrelevant because I rented a movie from Redbox.
AT&T is trolling these guys about it, so they've got what's his name, Hank Holtquist. He's AT&T's policy executive, and he's actually making fun of them, saying like, "Hey, if you guys actually would have prioritized the traffic on this over the traffic of Netflix, maybe it would have worked out." But I think they probably were. Because it looks like they were. It doesn't look like they were. It doesn't look like they were actually prioritizing the traffic. It looks like they were just severely damaging the traffic of Netflix. So instead of prioritizing theirs, they just let it run normally. You know what I mean? It's like, just let it run normal, and then we'll screw up Netflix. So it looks like it was happening. And also, shut the hell up, dude. You work for AT&T. Like, what are you throwing stones for in your glass house? Come on, man.
It literally was a case of Verizon letting this run over really good infrastructure versus sending Netflix down. It's like, it wasn't really Netflix. It's like, we're not gonna unprioritize Netflix. We're just gonna send traffic to your ISP Netflix. We're gonna send that over AVN carrier, which is TCP/IP over carrier pigeon. So enjoy. So I mean, arguably from an infrastructure standpoint, Redbox was the better experience. It was just very poor execution, just like a set-top box is very poor execution. You can't just slap anything on there and call it a day. But that's the state of the art with set-top boxes. Set-top boxes haven't changed at all in the better part of a decade. And so it's like, if you can't innovate, customers are not going to use your product just because it's there. You can't shove it down their throats. This is a very old world business model. But that guy from AT&T needs to not throw stones, because guess what AT&T said they were going to spend $500 million on a couple months ago?
Dun, 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 dun.
They're going to work on their own Netflix clone. But that's never going to work because they had to buy a satellite TV company because they can't deliver TV over their copper. The copper's too flaky.
You know how their board meetings go right now. They're like, yes, just send it over a carrier pigeon, and then someone's like, well, Netflix is introducing 4K, and they're like, how many pigeons will we need to buy, and how many packets per pigeon? So now they're working on packets per pigeon technology over here at AT&T. Well, we've got other small companies working on real technology. We don't want you guys to work on packets per pigeon technology. That stuff is very expensive, and you're doing it only to screw the competition. So stop it. All right. Enough of that.
We've forgotten how to run wires. Literally, the AT&T's problem boils down to we've forgotten how to run wires to to all of the infrastructure. The people that did that at AT&T was like 7 generations ago, and so everybody's like, There's only Bob. Bob's the only guy in the entire company that knows how to run wire. He's 86, and I don't think he's going to get that done anytime soon.
Okay, last thing of the episode today. Let's talk about why. Well, actually, we're not going to talk about why privacy matters. I'm going to recommend a video here on TED Talk. It's Glenn Greenwald. He's the dude who's been breaking a lot of the Snowden stuff. He's been working, I guess, should we say they're working together with Snowden, or just Snowden's been working? I don't know how you categorize
Glenn
their
Greenwald
relationship.
is the journalist that broke the Snowden stuff and has been the journalist carrying the stories and overseeing the journalistically responsible way of distributing these stories so that, intelligence is not compromised, names are redacted. He sort of, the whole WikiLeaks thing where it's like, let's just release everything and it'll be a big giant mess. No, they didn't do that with Greenwald. Greenwald has been very careful to release that. And so he's covered all this kind of thing. You guys always ask us, well, not really. And some of you ask this facetiously and some of you ask it halfway seriously. And that is, I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't have anything to hide. And that's such terrible. It's such, that argument is so evil. It is insidious. And you should watch the Glenn Greenwald talk because he explains why privacy matters.
So go. You guys have some homework to do. The next episode, we're going to be talking to Paul from Paul's Hardware about a bunch of hardware that may or may not be Paul's hardware. So yes. And we also are doing a giveaway. We're doing a giveaway. We're giving away all kinds of goodies. So we've got this Strix graphics card. It's the GTX 970. The thing is ridiculously fast. While I'm holding this, I also want to say sorry, guys, for the video. I think I said that it was faster than a 770, but not as fast as a 780. And that was probably because I did that video at 1 in the morning and I was about to jump on a plane like 2 hours later. It's faster than a 780 by just a little bit. And not as fast as a 780 Ti. And that's what I've tested. I've tested the 780 Ti, and it's almost as fast, but not quite. Anyway, so whatever. You guys all yelled at me for misspeaking, and I watched the video, and I was like, when did I say that? Oh, yeah, I need sleep. Yep, I sure do need some sleep. And we're not just going to give you the graphics card. We're also going to give you the ROG Swift monitor. That's the 27-inch 1440p monitor that does 144 hertz, and it also has G-Sync. So these two work together in a way that makes me extremely happy. It's some of the smoothest gameplay that I've seen. It is a TN panel, which it's probably the best implementation of TN that I've seen. Slightly washed out compared to an IPS panel, but it still looks better than most TN panels out there. So they did a hell of a job with the Swift, and we're just going to give them away because we're crazy. And you guys can check out the link that's right here in the description. It'll take you over to the contest, and yeah, best of luck. We'll pick a winner in a couple of weeks. So see you guys there. See you guys on the website. See you guys in the next episode, or I don't know where I'm going to see you guys. Somewhere, maybe. All right, see you. Bye. See you. See you later. See you guys. I see you. We're going to be talking with Paul from Paul's Hardware.
Facebook has changed its privacy policy related to data, and you're like, I didn't know that, except that when I was online the other day, it was serving me an ad which just so happened to be related to what I was browsing about 15 minutes before, and I'm like, well, that's kind of scary. Like there's a ton of data about your
Calf implants?
Yes. How did you know? Did they give you the data? You have my data too? Those calf. I've been trying to get calf implants for like a year. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to get a whole cow into your leg.
I was going to go there, but I decided not to.
Boom, boom.
I decided I was not going to do this. But yeah, they can make fun of you on the internet then.
Yes.
Please
Don't put that in there.
That's the only thing that's going on in the video.